Hello everyone, I'm Liqiang Huang, a professor at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. To ensure the best audio quality, I will now switch to an AI voice. Thank you for watching.
For 20 years, I was a dedicated experimental psychologist who played by all the rules. I built theories, generated hypotheses, and tested them. But after years of this work, I hit a wall. This is the story of the profound difficulties I encountered with these traditional methods. Difficulties so fundamental that I eventually had to leave them behind. It's also about the crucial lesson I learned through that long process. Let me share how this transformation happened. This series of videos is based on a new paper that has just appeared in the Review of General Psychology. A link to the paper can be found in the description of this video. When I began my career in psychology 25 years ago, I saw our field as a young science. I truly believed that as it matured, it would become like physics, filled with theories that were precise, broad, and elegantly simple. This dream fueled my early career and my deep commitment to developing the Boolean map theory of visual attention. So what is a Boolean map? It's a theory proposing a fundamental limit on what we can perceive in a single glance. It suggests we can only consciously process one visual feature, like a specific color, at any moment, though that feature can be distributed across multiple locations simultaneously. You can experience this yourself right now. Look at these two displays for just 2 seconds. You'll immediately see that the discs on both sides occupy identical positions. But determining whether they contain the exact same colors requires careful serial inspection. This simple demonstration captures the essence of the theory. Back then, I saw no fundamental barrier between psychology and physics. I was genuinely optimistic that the same scientific process, refining theories and designing sharper experiments, would lead us to a grand, unifying theory. It seemed like an achievable path, until suddenly, it wasn't, until the path simply vanished beneath my feet. So what went wrong? That's exactly what we'll explore next. In my initially optimistic and frankly naive phase, I believed vagueness was psychology's primary obstacle. My solution was to make the Boolean map theory perfectly precise and concrete. I anticipated that, as in physics, precision would reveal underlying simplicity. Once everything was defined, the surface irregularities would vanish, and elegant rules would emerge. In 2008, I told a friend I planned to spend 5 years conducting studies that would make the theory's concepts precise and its predictions concrete. My goal was to create unambiguous evidence that would either strongly support the theory or provide the foundation for a better one. While I knew this particular theory might not survive, I remained optimistic that some unified theory would emerge. My friend smiled and asked, "What if there isn't any consistent theory at all?" I didn't take the question seriously then. Now, I wish I had. By 2012, most experiments were complete, and the results were profoundly disappointing. Once everything was precisely defined and measured, a clear pattern emerged. No simple theory could account for all the data. Not my theory, not any existing framework. Most importantly, the results were so complex that I couldn't formulate any new theory that worked. The data resisted simplification. Contrary to my expectation that precision would lead to simplicity, the opposite happened. Every attempt to achieve precision across a broad scope inevitably revealed ever greater complexity, with countless additional factors and hidden mechanisms coming to light. The blow was immense. I had conducted over 1,000 experiments and now had no idea what to do with them. More importantly, I lost the meaning in my work and didn't know what to do next. I spent years in a fog, searching for a way forward. Eventually, I reached a crucial realization. My pursuit of simplicity itself was the problem. The human mind is inherently complex. Even a narrow aspect of it requires sophisticated principles to describe adequately. Once I accepted the necessity of complexity, I pivoted completely. I would build a complex theory, but I didn't know how. After a year of directionless work, I hit another wall. Insights from individual studies proved impossible to integrate. They lacked standardization. A more systematic approach was needed. This led to my third phase, standardization. I aimed to standardize tasks and stimuli across an extensive range of conditions to enable meaningful comparisons. For example, I worked to standardize featural processing. I began with a finding involving 2 stimulus types and 3 tasks. I expanded this to 16 types and 8 tasks. Finally, I reached 16 types and 26 tasks. This represented an enormous effort, a deliberate attempt to force the cognitive system to reveal its underlying rules through comprehensive analysis. While this particular study showed some progress, my more ambitious attempts all ultimately failed due to 3 insurmountable walls. First, data size. I needed tens of thousands of data hours but could only collect about 10% of that in the lab. Second, verbal theories. They proved too vague to capture the necessary complexity. Third, experimental design. It became impossible to manage more than 5 factors at once. But the ultimate obstacle wasn't methodological, it was human. Remember those 3 studies? Each grew broader in scope, yet a colleague who had liked the earlier, simpler finding dismissed the most comprehensive work as too complex, lacking clear messaging, and admitted he didn't know what to make of it. That was disappointing. While we're not supposed to take these things personally, we're only human. I felt a sense of betrayal, not by my colleague, but by the scientific values I had once taken for granted. The truly painful insight came when I realized I had done exactly the same thing when reviewing others' work. I must have been unintentionally hurting others in the same way, without even realizing it until someone did it to me. We claim to want deep theories, but our cognitive biases consistently reward simplicity. We are imprisoned by our own mental limitations. So, after all this, I made a definitive decision. I abandoned the traditional theory-driven methods I had used from 2001 to 2020. Despite the frustration, I consider myself fortunate to have found a way forward, a fundamental solution to these persistent problems. In our next episode, we'll examine the PBS impossible trinity, the root cause of these struggles and the guiding principle that led me to the solution. I'll see you then.